How many years did you work at Yavapai College?
27.5 years, meaning that I asked to be left out of the contract in the fall of 1999. No, that's only 21.5 years, isn't it? 99. See, 69 to no, it's 20. 69 to 99.
That's 30 years.
Yeah. Well, we got the wrong year. It wasn't 99. It was 97. Okay.
97. Yeah. Okay, that's what I have in my notes. 97. Well, so what jobs or roles did you hold when you worked at Yavapai College?
Well, I was primarily a physics instructor, and we had some engineering courses for the freshman engineers, a couple of them, and we had developed solar courses, so I was primarily an instructor. But at that time, we had what's called a division chairperson or chairman, and they typically held up a group of other students and, other faculty. For example, in the science division, there was biology, chemistry, geology, and physics and mathematics. And so that division chairperson was kind of a liaison between the faculty and the administration. I was faculty president at one time from, I think it was 90 to 91 in there, or a long time ago. So that was the faculty group called the Faculty Senate, who represented the faculty, and then the faculty president sat in with the board and had some input to the proceedings. Yeah.
So, where did you go to school and get your degrees?
Okay. Well, I graduated from the University of Iowa as a mechanical engineer, and that was a bachelor's degree, and worked for approximately 11 years, and in testing airplanes and rockets to the moon for NASA. And then went back to school and got a master's degree at San Diego State University. And that was in a degree that was designed to develop high school teachers. So I took a variety of courses, like more chemistry, biology, astronomy, and physics, and mathematics again. And then once I came to work here, I think it was the period of the late 70s that I went back to school and got a sabbatical and got a doctor of education in physics teaching from Arizona State University. And so that's my educational background.
So why did you leave testing airplanes for Yavapai College?
That's a good question. The defense industry was warned by my professors at the University of Iowa, or Iowa University, that it was a feast and famine business. And I spent 2 sessions back at Wright Field in Dayton, Ohio, testing our airplanes. And the second time I came back, there was a series of 3 layoffs. And so I kind of saw the writing on the wall and was hired by NASA to just move across town and to get a different office and be a liaison for rocket testing between. So I was working with the General Dynamics people with their rockets, and then giving the information back over to the NASA office in San Diego. So it was a matter of just relocating to a different building, actually a different building, to get a new job.
Well, that doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah, well, yeah. But it was a lot of fun. So that's part of the nice thing about working in engineering.
So can you tell me, how did the students change from 1969 to 1997?
The physics students, I saw very little change. The reason is that physics students typically were self-directed, and they typically had a good math background in high school, excuse me, and were interested in the physical sciences, the idea of physics and engineering. And the physics is actually a precursor to many engineering courses. That if you have the physics, you have the first 2 chapters of certain courses in engineering. I don't know if I've answered your question or not. Have I beat around the bush?
No.
Okay.
I'll just ask you another one then. You said earlier, you mentioned the staff had a dress code. When did they read the dress code, and did you really like that change?
Well, I felt like I was stringent to wear a white shirt and tie and jacket or sports coat every day. And it's, I think I told you just a few minutes ago that I decided to wear a turtleneck sweater, which I covered with a jacket and good pants. And I was caught by the dean and told to go home and get a shirt and tie on. And this was the part of the first year of the college. And I think you also heard in this recent conversation that there was a student dress code.
Yeah.
And that was equally repulsive to both the students and the faculty. For the students, for obvious reasons, and for the faculty, who were told to report any student who wasn't in the dress code, report them to the dean. And the faculty did not want to do that. And this caused quite a commotion between the faculty and students and the administration. Eventually, a student brought suit against the college, and the dress code was dropped. So the suit was dropped too. Okay. So.
I remember talking to you once over the phone, and you told me that one year the college wanted the staff to pay for parking.
Oh yes, that was an aberration for 1 year. That the faculty would have to pay for a parking spot on the campus area, and I was so ticked off about that. I think that they were getting money out of us, and they were making that much money anyhow. That I actually parked off the street where the Mormon building is, and then walked to school all year to avoid paying this fee. So, but that was canceled at the end of the year. So,
I find that really funny.
it is funny. Yes, there were other things that were funny too. For example, we were giving a budget. For example, if you're in chemistry, you need test tubes, you need chemicals and burners and so forth. In physics, you need certain things. And so we started to build up our laboratory materials. We're starting from nothing, and we needed this money, but we were told that 10% of our budget for supplies and capital equipment had to be held back. We couldn't spend it. And we asked the comptroller why, and he said, well, that's so we'll have some money for next year. So it was hilarious, some of the logic that we got from some of the people that were handling the money.
Fred, I heard from Molly Googler that you were kind of a practical jokester when you were here, and that you once gave someone a toilet as a gift. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, their name were Pam and Karen Brown, were originally chemistry and biology instructors. And initially, this first 4 buildings were not here; they were not completed. And we taught in Congregational Church, which is now a credit union. The present jail was an old junior high, and people taught there. Some people actually taught at high school. Veterans Affairs over here, VA hospital, we taught over there, and students were bussed around in an old yellow bus when the buildings were completed. And so we moved in, and we noticed that some of the materials that were left over were some toilets that were sitting out, what would be the edge of the parking lot now. And so they had minor defects or something, so we picked one up and put it in our truck, and for a birthday present, we gave this to Tom and Karen Brown, because we thought they were kind of free thinkers, and we thought that they would like to have this out in their yard, which is really good logic. And so that's the story on the toilet. Yes.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few toilet planters.
And yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Did you ever teach summer school or summer classes?
Yes, in engineering, we taught a statics class for the engineering students, and that was a requirement actually to get into the universities at engineering. So we would do that. One of the things we did was we copied the English department, who had a fantastic idea. They had 1 hour credit courses that ran 5 weeks, and they'd have, for example, particular authors or different subjects that were of high interest. And so I developed some solar courses that were like that. They were taught in the summer also, 1 credit, 5 weeks. And they started out with the basics of solar, and then you went into solar hot water heating and solar house heating, and then passive heating and cooling and things like that. Different courses that were developed, and these were taught in the summer also.
So did you enjoy the summer courses more than like regular semester
No.
courses?
Teaching a engineering course is not easy. So and it's particularly hard on the students too, because it's some of the stuff is very difficult, and so you're always have a problem with the brilliant students. And one named John Garnett was so smart you had to keep out of his way. And he was actually became an engineer. We had a competition going in that engineering course where a group of students would develop a new invention. And he came up with a indoor thermometer that would could be read by a blind person, which involved rotating a dial, and it was connected up so when it reached the temperature, it would hum, and then they could read the braille and tell the temperature. And this was taken down to the state university, Arizona State, and our students competed and virtually won the contest. I say virtually because although it was superior to the Arizona State University students' projects, I understood that the college can't come down and beat a big university and ever be expected to be invited back.
Yeah.
So, but yes, we taught courses like that in the summer. So.
That's cool. So, as you walked in today, like what major changes did you see with just the way the campus looked?
That's fantastic. Some of the architecture is really super. I see greatly enhanced parking for obvious reasons that you need it, but the buildings, for the most part, are very, very attractive.
And you also told me about the water fountain. Can you
Oh,
tell me some more about that?
Yes. Initially, in the quadrangle between the 4 buildings, there was a water fountain, and in that fountain was a stainless steel structure at the center of the fountain, which simulated a vine moving upward. And the young cowboy was in the process, with a cowboy hat, was in the process of climbing this vine. and it was Jack and the Beanstalk. And well, the message was that if you work hard and you can climb to the top, and become the American dream. But it doesn't sound too well to have a fairy tale for your main part of your campus. It was taken out after the first year. So.
I do find that kind of sad. So, can you tell me, like, what were some of the challenges you faced teaching, like not enough equipment, budget, students?
Well, there's always a competition for money on the capital equipment side of it, and that was a sticking point a lot of times, particularly when the computers started coming in the early 90s. And my particular problem was that I wanted to set up a laboratory for physics students, and we would do, I found that there was a program for developing characters and images. They were actually virtually stick figures, very crude by today's standards, but you could do different things with them. For example, you could have two bobsleds that would slide down a hill, and one was the Jamaican bobsled, the famous Jamaicans, and they called it the Jamaican bobsled race, where they gradually pulled ahead of the other bobsled and won. But doing this and knowing the slope and some other factors, so you could determine the coefficient of friction. And so we had a series of these courses where we had these figures doing things, and you had to do some calculations to figure out what happened. And one was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, who in one scene, they jump off a cliff, and there is cactus on one side and rocks on the other side and the river in between. That's in the physics experiment. And by knowing their initial velocity and other factors, that when they jump off, you had to determine whether or not they're going to hit the cactus, the rocks, or the water. See, so we had these kinds of experiments that you can't do because you can't have people going down a hill on a bobsled, obviously, and that were ideal for physics. Some of them were too dangerous to be done, and some were too expensive, but you could do it on a computer. And I have fought vigorously to get enough computers with, can you believe this, 2 megabytes?
Yeah,
2 megabytes. Yeah. Well, you talk about being a jokester. We had constructed the small adjunct building that's up the hill from the main science building, and the major end was mathematics. There was a nice large room, and the physics was on the other end. And with the room size, the room was supposed to be 32 students, and that would be the maximum they could put in there for the mathematics. So I approached the math person, Ron Adams, and said, gee, I'd like to get the back 8 feet of your room there, and we put a separate door, and we put a physics lab in there for the computers. And he said, well, I don't know about that. I said, well, you think about it, Ron. I said, your room size will go down, and you only have 24 students in there.
Yeah.
He said, that's a great idea. I like it. So we had a little laboratory, and by a lot of making loud noises and talking to the person who handled the money from the college for computer equipment, we managed to get a small lab of about 9 computers. So that was one of those jokester things.
So what was probably your fondest memory of Yavapai College?
Always had lab assistants, and after the first test, I would invite the students to apply for the job, and pointing out that they would set up laboratories and they would run the laboratory prior to the other students, and they would gain a greater knowledge. And working with these people, that I developed friendships, and 2 cases I still communicate with them after 20 years. And these 2 people are now well settled in high-paying engineering jobs, and so it was the bright students that I had that were really a joy. And I said, like John Cornette, I had to get out of his way because he was that smart. So that was the greatest pleasure I ever had.
Cool. I don't know. It's always nice to be able to bond with a teacher because you gain so much
You do.
knowledge. So can you tell me about a time, that was there like a kind of struggle, something that, this wasn't right?
Yeah, I could tell you that one. That's rather grim. But by the end of the first year, there was very bad feelings between the faculty and the administration, partly because of the dress codes that I explained earlier. And say that at that time, the board was responsive, and we actually had a board member coming in and to the classes and welcomed him. He wanted to see everything that was going on. So there was pretty good relationships with the board. But at the end of the year, they announced they were calling people in, and this is to be talking about your contract for the next year. And I was brought in, and I made some false accusations against me about calling somebody pig-headed. And I'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time and did the wrong thing. And I said, I really can't respond to these kinds of charges. Because number one, they're so vague, and number two, they're obviously not going to tell who it was. And they said, well, you just go home and think about this and discharge me. This is the dean and the president. And they walked across campus. Marianne Bamrick, who was head of the business division, spotted me and said, Lyle, what's the matter? You look like a truck ran over you. And I pointed to her, and at that time, the president was located at the level of this building, number 3, and that was her holding these sessions. And Marianne said, oh, we'll see about that. And she marched off and walked up the stairs, and I kind of disappeared, went home, and called my brother, who was a lawyer. But anyhow, next morning I get a call from the dean, and he said, come on, the dean's office, come on over, and walked over, and at the top of the stairs there was the dean, big handshake, welcome, it's good to see you, and so blah blah blah. We're going to give you another contract, and I've always held Marianne Bamrick in great esteem and as a brave woman.
Yeah. That's cool. Just trying to think. So, you must have seen quite a few changes over the years. Did eventually, budget things improve?
Oh yeah, yes. It depends on the comptroller. The ridiculous holding 10% back years is so inane. You can't believe it, but this happened. But we had, I think the next president, incidentally, the first president was not rehired.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
read that in the history.
Okay, I believe the next president was Cal James. He was a man after my own heart. I was called in by him and said that I had made a promise to one of our math faculty, the new math faculty that I had asked to be hired, approved to be hired, that I would allow him to set up a tennis sport. And my response to him, and this was held over the phone, at the phone type interview. Incidentally, I had asked the comptroller to listen in, and this is not the original comptroller. This is a few years later. And I said to this prospective faculty, I said, well, we'd like to hire you, but I can't make any promises about getting you a tennis team. So immediately he came in and made the claim to the president that I had told him this. And so Cal James, the president, reiterated this, that so-and-so came in here and he said that I had told him he could have a tennis team. And he reached into the drawer, he had a sheet of paper there, and he went, bam, with a great big stamp. And it said, I won't say the whole word, but that's BS. He said the whole word. Okay. So I said, well, call Chuck Baldwin in here. He was on the phone. And he didn't scare me a bit because I had a witness. And Chuck Baldwin came in. He was the comptroller, and he verified what I said. Yeah. And so, but Cal James was that kind of person. And when he left, I really missed him. And he was a good president, and he was respectful of our views, and we respected him. So
did that man ever get hired?
Yes, he was hired. Yeah.
And I know we have tennis courts, so did he get his tennis team?
Yeah, he eventually got a tennis team, yes.
That's cool. Do you know how they did?
No, I'm a tennis player, but not very good, so.
Yeah, I enjoy watching some competitions on TV, but I can't.
You can't play tennis, huh? You have to keep moving your head back and forth. That's the problem.
Yeah, and then you got to be able to move your body.
Yeah.
And get over to where the ball is. And
I mean the spectator. That was a joke.
Well, in 1970, I read that the library came in. Did you guys use a lot of library resources for physics, or were you guys had your own stuff like?
No. Part of the library was the audiovisual people. I told you earlier that we always had great service from them. They were always would bring our equipment up, even in without proper notice. But they were extremely helpful. So we always had good relationship with that part of the library. The archives. I worked well with them, but that was in respect to some of the politics on campus. So, but they were the head librarian was Charlotte. I can't think of her name now, but Charlotte. And the other librarians were always very helpful. If you went in there for anything, they were great.
So they're pretty helpful now.
Mm-hmm.
Go in and I talk to Molly and she'll get some information and stuff. So I really appreciate the people in the library who work to help. I was trying to think if there was about the student population. Was it like mainly white students, or did you guys have a wide ethnic?
That's a very good question there. It was primarily white Caucasian boys and girls, but there's a lot of older people taking night courses, and so the median age was probably up in the late 20s. But some of the things that happened was, we had Navajo students on campus, and they were always very good students and very respectful. We had a group of Saudi Arabians, young men. I think their main purpose to come over to the United States was to have fun. And I recall out in the 72 seat room we have over in the building 4, which is tiered up. I was teaching a course in there at one time, and I think it was that introduction to engineering, and these students would get together on a test and they'd jabber to one another. I'd give them a frown and they'd look away. But none of them did any studying, and so they couldn't get answers from one another. So I didn't care too much. But that seemed to die out. This business of bringing in students like that. That was in the early years. We had the Navajos. We had some Chinese, Japanese, but not a large population.
I'll say I think we have quite a few nationalities. I know a girl in college honors program. She's actually from Costa Rica, I believe. So it's kind of cool that we have that wide range. So just another question about the students. Were there like more males than females, or?
Well, sad to say that the women, or the women students, female students, particularly good in math, but they seem to lose interest and go some other direction. So consequently, math, which is the handmaiden of physics and engineering, was a very strong requirement in that. And so consequently, I very seldom had girls in the engineering physics course. And that was where you have calculus involved. The general physics was open more to people who wanted to become chiropractors or some other area that needed some sort of physics information, but not really strong in physics. And this was the general physics, and there was probably 40% young women in that. And but I said in any of the physics courses, either one of these people are directed, and they know what they want to do. They know that they must study, and it's not it's nice to have fun at a college or university, but there is some requirements to get through successfully. Because look at it, it's only 4 or 5 years, and you're going to be out there looking for a job. So.
So, were you considered a nice teacher, or like were you a mean teacher?
Depends who the student was, obviously. I had one student who used continually sent in late homework, and I gave her a warning. I said, next time I will take 20% off. The idea, this was not something you had to do tonight. Say like on Monday, by Thursday you're going to have these kinds of problems done.
Yeah.
Give them 2 or 3 days notice to do this, but never one day. And she came in and she used some obscene words on me that I had never heard before. Now, I can say this with confidence because the lab assistant was a young lady, and we had an office about this size, and then a classroom, and then around the corner was a laboratory. But the doors were open, and she heard every word of it.
Oh, wow.
And when it's kind of fun because I picked up the phone and dialed security, and I get a recording. There's nobody here now. Leave your name and message, And I think, couldn't get rid of her. So anyhow, she with some parting words she left, and the lab assistant came in, and she was interviewed by security, and I was interviewed by security, and she said exactly what happened. That was the weekend of it, But like I said, I had very good relationship with the lab assistants, and the engineering students always had a trip that was based at the end of the year where they would have something with engineering that they could learn. Well, so we would get the students together, I would drive them up to Hoover Dam, and we would get a special tour of Hoover Dam. And then, of course, we had to stay in Las Vegas, which is 30 miles more. But then we would cruise down I-15 and to a solar plant near Barstow, California. And this was a huge tower, and on top there was a black receiver up there, and this great field of mirrors would shine on that, and that was so brilliant you couldn't look at it. But we'd take them there, and they would learn the physics and engineering that was going on there. Then we would drive down to San Diego, and we would be hosted by people in General Dynamics and the NASA, whom I worked with, and typically some of the retired engineers would meet us for dinner. Lunch. And they would talk to these people, these young students, telling them, this is what you have to know. And that was made a great bond between me and the young physics students, or engineering students, because we had this wonderful trip at the end of the year. They liked that very much. So.
I imagine so after working hard all
Yes, after working hard all year, yes.
Get to go on a trip. So, is there anything else? I would like to say or anything?
Well, no, I'm sure there's many things that could be said, but I think I've expressed my feelings here. I've always wondered at the brilliant students and enjoyed them, and there's been a lot of bad politics have gone on and that's behind us now. And so, as I told you before, I still communicate with 2 students, and that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
More than that, actually. So, but that's about all I'd like to say.
All right. Well, thank you so much,
Sure.
Lyle.
Okay.